Part 1. Bella and the Castle. The castle had always been her entire world. Bella, 7 years old, wandered its vast corridors with a quiet curiosity that no child should ever need to learn so young. The cold stone walls stretched upward towards ceilings she could barely see, and the air smelled faintly of damp earth, burning logs, and the lingering sweetness of wax from countless candles that had flickered in the rooms over the years. Dust motes floated in the shafts of sunlight that fell through tall, narrow windows, settling softly on worn tapestries and the patterned stone floors. The place smelled alive and old, carrying with it the memory of generations that had passed through its many halls. She had been born in the very top room, the one her mother had loved most. She could remember, or at least imagine, the day her mother had held her there for the first time, whispering words Bella could not remember, but felt deep inside her heart. That was before her mother had passed, before the silence of the castle had grown so heavy. Bella still searched for her mother sometimes, wandering the castle as though she might be waiting behind a door or around a corner, unaware that the world outside these walls existed at all. Her father had never been there to see her, passing before she could even remember his face, but he had left behind the traces of himself in the books of spells scattered across the castle. Every room seemed to hide some small fragment of his magic, a memory of his presence, and somewhere along the way, his spells had taken on a life of their own, producing creatures that had come to keep Bella company. She had never been lonely, not truly, not since she had discovered Percy and Isis. Percy was the first to appear, a small purple ball, the size of a tennis ball, with legs that were long and skinny, just 5 centimeters, but incredibly nimble. His eyes were huge, black, and always watching. And his grin was impossibly wide, cheesy in a way that made Bella laugh every time she saw it. Isis followed soon after, nearly identical, though Bella always thought her smile seemed gentler, more thoughtful. The two of them had been her companions for as long as she could remember. They bounced alongside her as she explored, their legs clattering softly against the stone floors, making small, almost musical taps with each step. The castle could be cold, especially in the mornings. Bella often pulled her small cloak around her shoulders, tucking her hands into her sleeves to keep them warm. The walls absorbed the chill of the night, and the sunlight had to work hard to reach her in the shadowed hallways. She could hear the wind whistling around the high towers and the occasional creak of timber, old and stretched from years of holding the castle upright. Somewhere, far below her, water dripped steadily, echoing like tiny clocks marking the passage of time. Today, Bella had begun her exploration in the library, a room she had visited often but never truly tired of. The air was thick with the smell of old parchment and ink, with the faintest trace of herbs her father had once used in experiments. Sunlight spilled through tall windows, hitting the dust in golden streams, and as she stepped carefully between the rows of books, Percy bounced along, spinning in tiny circles, while Isis glided beside her, her legs moving almost silently. Bella liked to open the books, even if she could not read all the words. Some were illustrated with strange symbols, glowing faintly when she ran her fingers along the edges of the pages. Some smelled faintly of smoke or flowers, and she would close her eyes, letting the scent drift through her, imagining herself somewhere warm, somewhere familiar. She imagined her mother holding her there, telling her stories about the people who had lived in the castle long ago, about knights and gardens and small animals she had never seen but could picture perfectly in her mind. In the quiet of the library, the castle seemed soft. Even the distant echoes of doors or footsteps felt gentle, cushioned by layers of rugs and tapestries. Percy and Isis nudged her hands sometimes, reminding her to smile when her thoughts grew heavy, when she thought too hard about her mother, about the emptiness of the rooms, or the vastness of the castle. "We are free," Percy's eyes seemed to say. "You are free." Isis would bounce beside him, reminding her in her own way. "And everything is simple, Bella. You can choose to feel safe." As she wandered past the tall shelves, Bella noticed something she had not seen before. A small glowing orb hovered near the ceiling, pulsing softly with a warm light. It bobbed gently, as if inviting her to follow. Bella's heart lifted a little. Adventures were always more fun when they had a surprise waiting. She tiptoed closer, and the orb drifted toward a spiral staircase leading to the lower levels of the castle. Percy and Isis followed eagerly, tapping their little legs in anticipation with each step down. The spiral staircase. The air grew cooler, damper. The smell of moss and stone replaced the warm scent of parchment. Bella shivered lightly, wrapping her cloak tighter, and whispered to herself, "I'm okay. I'm safe." The two purple creatures bounced around her, keeping her close, watching her face for the smallest sign of worry. And for a while, that was enough. The sound of their little leg taps, the smell of stone, and the steady rhythm of her own heartbeat. At the bottom of the staircase, the castle opened into a long, dim hallway. Doors lined either side, their handles worn smooth by time. Some doors were closed, some slightly ajar, giving glimpses of rooms filled with light or shadow. Bella wondered what might be behind each one. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a curtain drifting slightly, as if someone had just passed by. But when she looked closer, there was nothing, just the castle breathing quietly around her, alive but gentle, waiting for her to explore. Percy nudged her hand, and she smiled. Isis twirled in a circle, as though saying, "Come on, Bella, the next adventure is just ahead." And in that quiet, soft moment, she realized that even though she missed her mother terribly, even though the castle could feel lonely sometimes, she was not alone. She had companions who loved her in the small, magical ways that mattered, who reminded her that safety and joy could still exist within the stone walls and twisting corridors. The hallway seemed endless, and Bella wandered slowly, savoring the quiet. Every door held a promise, perhaps a room of books, perhaps a creature she had never met, perhaps a small secret left by her father. And even when the darkness of the castle pressed softly against her, she felt a warmth in her chest, the kind that came from knowing someone, somewhere, was watching out for her, keeping her safe. Percy bounced ahead, and Isis twirled in his wake. Together, they led Bella deeper into the castle, through the cool, shadowed halls, toward mysteries and surprises that had yet to reveal themselves. And as Bella walked, her small heart full of curiosity and wonder, she whispered to the castle softly, "I am here. I am ready." The castle seemed to hum in response, quiet and alive, and Bella felt, for the first time in many days, that she could wander forever and still be safe, warm, and free. Part 2, Hidden Rooms and Whispers. Bella's small feet padded softly across the stone hallway, her cloak brushing the cold floor as Percy and Isis led the way. The castle seemed to breathe around her, alive in quiet, patient ways. Shadows stretched along the walls, shifting slightly with each step she took, and the faint creak of distant doors made the hallways feel endless, mysterious, and oddly comforting all at once. The cool, slightly damp air carried hints of lavender and herbs, the remnants of her father's experiments, lingering like gentle ghosts of memory. She reached a door at the far end of the hallway that she had never noticed before. Its handle was tarnished, but polished enough to gleam faintly in the dim light. Bella's small hand hovered over it, and she felt a thrill of anticipation, a little tingle of curiosity mixed with the comfort of safety her purple friends provided. Percy bounced in a small circle, his grin wide and steady, and Isis twirled gracefully, nudging Bella gently toward the door. Inside, the room was unlike any she had seen before. The air smelled warmer here, a mixture of old parchment and the faint, sweet tang of something magical, like the smell of sunlight trapped in a bottle. Shelves filled every wall, but instead of books, they were lined with small glass jars, each containing glowing, shimmering motes of color. Tiny sparks of light floated in the air, drifting lazily as if the room itself were breathing. Bella's eyes widened. "What is this place?" she whispered, her voice soft, almost reverent. Percy hopped to one of the lower shelves, his tiny legs clattering gently against the wood. Isis followed, inspecting a jar with a careful tilt of her head. Bella knelt down beside them, peering closely at the motes of light. Each one seemed alive, pulsing gently, like a heartbeat she could almost feel. They reminded her of fireflies she had imagined, though she had never seen such things outside the castle. A gentle warmth spread through her chest, a feeling of quiet wonder that made the emptiness of the castle fade just a little. As she moved through the room, her fingers brushing along the jars, Bella discovered a small notebook tucked between two shelves. Its cover was worn, and golden letters spelled out words she could not read. But when she opened it, the pages were filled with sketches. Small creatures, swirling shapes, and notes written in her father's flowing script. Even though she could not read the words, she felt their meaning. Love, care, protection. Each drawing seemed to radiate a gentle warmth, as if her father's hands had left a piece of himself in every stroke. Percy nudged her, and Bella realized she had been holding her breath. The little creature's grin reminded her gently, almost wordlessly, to smile. Isis floated near her shoulder, humming softly in her own way, a vibration that felt like reassurance. The castle could be lonely, yes, but it was also full of surprises, full of life shaped by her father's magic. It was a world of wonder, hidden in quiet corners, waiting for her to discover. The next room she entered smelled of earth and stone, cooler than the last. It was a long gallery, its walls lined with portraits of people she had never seen but somehow recognized. Men and women in rich flowing robes, their eyes kind yet piercing. Children with mischievous grins and hands clasped around small, glowing objects. Bella felt a shiver, not of fear, but of recognition, as if the castle itself were reminding her that she belonged, even though she was small and alone. Percy bounced along the edge of the gallery, inspecting the portraits with a careful curiosity. Isis drifted closer to Bella, brushing her tiny legs against her arm in a comforting gesture. As she moved further down the hallway, Bella noticed a faint sound, soft, musical, almost like wind chimes. It led her to another door, smaller than the others, almost hidden behind a tapestry. The sound was warm, gentle, and inviting. Her tiny hand pushed the door open, and inside was a circular room filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflected a slightly different version of the castle, some brighter, some dimmer, some with hints of sunlight streaming through imagined windows. Bella walked slowly among them, captivated, each reflection showing her the castle in ways she had never seen. The mirrors seemed to whisper to her, not in words, but in feeling. You are safe. You are free. You are allowed to wonder. Percy bounced up onto one of the low windowsills, his grin turning almost mischievous. Isis floated in the air beside Bella, her presence steady and calm. They reminded her that the castle was not a place of fear, but of discovery. Even when her thoughts drifted to her mother, to the warmth of her lost home, or the silence of the empty hallways, the little purple creatures kept her anchored, helping her see the beauty hidden in every corner. She felt her chest relax, a sense of calm she hadn't realized she was missing. Then something unusual happened. One of the mirrors flickered. A shimmer passed over its surface, like a ripple in water, and Bella froze. The reflection did not mimic her movements perfectly. It lagged just slightly, its eyes following her longer than they should have. Percy squeaked softly, bouncing in place, and Isis nudged Bella with a leg, as if to warn her. But the shimmer was not frightening. It was curious, gentle, and it seemed to invite her closer. Bella stepped forward slowly, her small fingers hovering near the glass. She imagined her mother's hand there, warm and reassuring. And for a moment, she felt that perhaps her mother was looking back at her, somewhere beyond the walls, in the reflections of magic left behind by her father. She spent what felt like hours in the mirrored room, tracing her fingers over the cool surface, watching the faint ripples of her reflection. Percy bounced alongside her, his grin constant, while Isis drifted above, humming softly. The castle outside the mirrors seemed distant, quiet, and calm. It was the first time Bella truly felt the layers of the castle not as a living, breathing world, not just a place of stone and shadow, but a home filled with hidden magic, creatures, and memories waiting to be discovered. Finally, she left the mirrored room, feeling a little lighter. The hallways seemed softer now, the air warmer, the stone floors less cold beneath her feet. Percy and Isis bounced happily beside her, and Bella whispered to them, "Thank you. I'm glad you're here." And though they did not speak, their wide grins and gentle taps of their legs conveyed the same message back. You are never alone, Bella. You are always free to wander, always free to wonder, always safe to explore. Part 3. The Living Corners of the Castle. The deeper Bella wandered, the more the castle seemed to breathe around her. Every hallway had its own rhythm, each room a secret waiting patiently for her to discover. Percy bounced ahead, his little legs making soft, steady taps that echoed lightly against the stone, while Isis floated close to Bella's shoulder, her gentle hum wrapping around her like a soft, invisible blanket. Even when the castle was cold, even when the walls pressed shadows against her small figure, she felt warmth in her chest. The creatures reminded her always that she was safe, that she could wander freely, and that the castle's quiet magic had been made for her. Bella came to a door she had never noticed before, small and carved with spiraling patterns that seemed to shift in the dim candlelight. She pressed her hand to it and felt the grooves of the carvings, cool and smooth, and a faint vibration tickled her palm. Percy squeaked excitedly, hopping in place, while Isis twirled, brushing lightly against Bella's hair. Bella smiled, her heart lifting slightly, and slowly pushed the door open. Inside was a workshop, a room filled with gentle chaos. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with glass jars, curious instruments, and small bundles of herbs tied with ribbons. Strange shapes moved quietly in the corners, tiny creatures made of thread and light, wriggling and shimmering in the faint glow of enchanted lanterns. Each seemed alive, breathing softly, moving as if they had their own thoughts. Bella's eyes widened in delight and wonder. The creatures were harmless, curious, and somehow welcoming, like friends she had yet to meet, but had known all her life. One of the little creatures twirled toward her, its body glowing faintly like moonlight. Bella reached out slowly, and it bounced lightly onto her palm, resting there with a warmth that surprised her. Percy and Isis nudged her hands and feet, their grins wide and reassuring, and Bella felt a sense of calm she could not put into words. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not afraid." The creatures seemed to understand, shimmering and curling gently in her presence. The workshop smelled of herbs and parchment, and a soft draft from a high window carried the faint scent of the forest outside, a smell she had never truly known but could imagine, fresh and alive, like life stretching beyond the castle walls. She moved carefully between tables stacked with jars and books, each step soft and measured. She wanted to touch everything, to see it all, but her small hands moved slowly, savoring the texture: smooth glass, rough twine, delicate vellum, and the cool, smooth stone of the floor beneath her. In the center of the room, she discovered a book, open on a lectern, its pages filled with diagrams and illustrations of magical creatures. She could not read the words, but the pictures told her stories she felt in her heart. Tiny creatures that could light the way in dark corridors, small guardians to keep children safe, and magical companions that reminded their human friends of joy, simplicity, and freedom. She traced the images with her fingers, imagining each one coming to life just for her. Percy bounced excitedly, mimicking some of the movements of the creatures in the pictures, and Isis drifted above, her hum rising in a soft, reassuring melody. Time slipped quietly by, unnoticed, as Bella wandered further into the workshop. She found a small alcove filled with cushions and warm blankets, and for a moment she curled up there, letting her body rest against the softness. The castle's walls seemed to sigh around her, and she thought of her mother, the warmth of her arms, the gentle lull of her voice, the way she had smelled of lavender and warmth. A quiet ache stirred in her chest, but Percy nudged her hand, and Isis brushed gently against her cheek, reminding her to breathe, to smile, to notice the world around her. She explored even more, discovering tiny magical lamps that glowed like captured stars, softly illuminating shelves stacked with jars of colored mist and small mechanical birds that hopped and chirped in quiet rhythms. Bella felt as though She had stepped into a world where everything was made just for her, a quiet sanctuary of wonders. Even the cold stone under her hands felt safe. The slight drafts carrying the subtle scent of magic and herbs, comforting rather than frightening. By the time Bella left the workshop, the hallway outside seemed warmer, softer somehow, as though the castle had been waiting to share its secret treasures with her. Percy bounced in excited loops, Isis floating gracefully beside her, and Bella felt a rush of gratitude. She whispered softly, "Thank you for this place. Thank you for all of it." The creature's wide grins seemed to beam approval, their black eyes twinkling with quiet joy, even in the vastness and solitude of the castle. Bella realized that life could still be gentle, filled with discovery, with friends, and with moments of calm wonder. As she wandered toward the next set of rooms, the castle's corridors stretched out like ribbons of shadow and light. Faint echoes bounced off the stone walls, perhaps the distant movement of unseen creatures, or the gentle shifting of air through the ancient windows. The cool, slightly damp stone pressed a quiet comfort against her hands and knees as she knelt occasionally to examine curious carvings or hidden crevices where her father's magic might have left something special. She imagined the wizard, her father, moving through these same halls long ago, leaving pieces of himself in every corner for her to find. The thought wrapped around her like a cloak, warm and soothing, and for the first time in days, Bella felt an effortless smile spread across her face. The purple creatures bounced in gentle rhythm beside her, their presence steady and unchanging. Percy spun in playful circles, while Isis twirled above her shoulder, their movements echoing a silent message. You are safe, you are loved, and even in a vast empty castle, joy and warmth can be found in the simplest of things. Bella's small heart swelled with a quiet happiness she had almost forgotten existed, and as she moved deeper into the castle, she whispered to herself, I am free to wander. I am free to explore. And I am not alone. Part 4. The secret room and Bella's quiet realization. Bella wandered deeper into the castle than she had ever gone before. The corridors seemed narrower now, the walls curling gently inward as though guiding her somewhere important. The air had grown warmer, carrying a faint scent of herbs and honey, and the soft hum of magic tickled her senses. Percy bounced ahead in loops, his grin steady and cheerful, while Isis floated gently above Bella's shoulder, brushing her soft legs against the girl in a comforting rhythm. Together, they were a rhythm she had come to trust, a gentle cadence that made even the shadowed castle feel safe. Ahead, Bella noticed a door unlike any she had seen before. Its wood was dark and polished, with intricate carvings of swirling stars and spiraling shapes that seemed to shimmer faintly in candlelight. A soft warmth radiated from it, and Bella's fingers tingled as she touched the handle. Percy bounced in place, tapping his little legs against the stone, and Isis twirled above, urging her forward with a gentle nudge. It's okay, Bella whispered to herself. I'm ready. Inside, she found a room unlike any other she had explored. The walls were lined with shelves stacked with her father's books, each one glowing faintly, as if alive. Small creatures of every imaginable shape and color moved quietly among the shelves, some hopping from ledge to ledge, some curling lazily on the floor, and others floating in the air with soft pulsing light. The room felt alive, warm, and inviting, as though her father's presence lingered in every corner. Bella's chest swelled with a mix of awe and comfort, and for a moment she felt as if she could breathe more fully than she had in years. Percy bounced onto a low table and nudged a small, glowing book toward Bella. Isis drifted closer, brushing her legs against Bella's arm, and together they seemed to encourage her to open it. Bella traced her fingers over the cover, feeling the warmth and subtle vibrations of magic beneath her fingertips. When she opened the book, she discovered pages filled with her father's spells, simple enchantments designed to bring joy, warmth, and safety. Some created light, some gentle breezes, some summoned small, playful creatures, and some whispered soft melodies when the pages were turned. Bella ran her fingers over the words and illustrations, even if she could not read them perfectly, and felt a deep connection to her father, as if he had left a part of himself for her to find, always. Hours passed quietly as Bella explored, her small heart light with curiosity and wonder. She discovered corners of the room she had not noticed before. A nook filled with plush cushions, a window seat where sunlight pooled in the afternoon, and a tiny door that led to a hidden garden inside the castle. The garden was small, with soft moss underfoot and delicate flowers that shimmered faintly with enchantment. The air smelled of earth and sweetness, and the gentle rustle of leaves made Bella feel as if the world beyond the castle might be kind and gentle, too. Percy and Isis bounced and twirled happily beside her, keeping her company as she imagined the sunlight on her face and the soft warmth of her mother's embrace. At the edge of the garden, Bella noticed a small, round mirror tucked between two flowering bushes. Unlike the other mirrors she had seen, this one seemed to hold a soft glowing image inside it. As she approached, the reflection shimmered and shifted, forming the faint outline of a woman's face, warm, gentle, and familiar. Bella's breath caught in her chest. Could it be her mother? She pressed closer, feeling a wave of longing and comfort all at once, and whispered softly, "Mother." Percy bounced beside her, and Isis hummed gently, reminding her to stay calm, to let the feeling of warmth fill her, rather than break her heart. But as the glow of the mirror shifted, the image wavered and dissipated, leaving only Bella's own reflection framed by the garden. The sense of longing remained, soft and quiet, but now accompanied by a realization. The castle, her father's magic, Percy and Isis. They were her family now, her protectors, her guides. The warmth she felt was not just in the memory of her mother, but in the living, breathing companionship that surrounded her. Bella hugged herself gently, letting the feeling settle in her chest. She understood that home was not a single place or a single person. It could be made wherever love and care were present, even in a castle full of shadows and hidden rooms. As the evening light dimmed, the creatures gathered around him. Percy bounced lightly in place, his grin as wide and reassuring as ever, while Isis twirled softly in the air. Bella sat down on a cushion in the hidden garden, feeling the soft moss beneath her hands and the warmth of magical light on her face. She closed her eyes and listened to the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle hum of her father's enchanted creatures, and the quiet, comforting rhythm of her own heartbeat. The castle had become a living, breathing sanctuary, filled with gentle magic friendship, and wonder. In the final moments of the day, Bella whispered softly to the castle, "Thank you. Thank you for being here, for keeping me safe, for letting me find joy even in the quiet." The shadows stretched and softened, the air shimmered with magic, and Percy and Isis nestled close to her, their presence steady and comforting. And as Bella drifted towards sleep, surrounded by warmth, light, and the gentle magic of her father's creations, she understood something deep in her heart. Even when the world seemed vast and lonely, even when she longed for the past she could not return to, she was never truly alone. For now Bella was safe, for now she was loved, for now the castle whispered softly around her, cradling her in its ancient, magical embrace, and the little purple creatures hummed gently beside her. And as her eyelids grew heavy, the castle exhaled a quiet, soothing sigh, carrying her into dreams where every shadow held a soft light, every corridor led to a new discovery, and every heartbeat reminded her of the simple, profound truth. She was free, she was cherished, and she was home.